The battle for Earth was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Supreme Arbiter Velthara led her fleet of 260 ships against a planet that refused to surrender. What she found there would change her understanding of war forever. Every human civilian had become a combatant. Cargo ships filled with families rammed into Valdorian cruisers. Passenger liners loaded with colonists fought alongside military vessels. Even small personal spacecraft joined the battle, their owners determined to defend their home. "This is impossible," Velthara said as she watched a luxury yacht sacrifice itself to save a damaged human battleship. "Civilians do not fight in space battles. They hide until the military determines the outcome." "The humans appear to have different customs," her tactical officer replied nervously. On his flagship, Fleet Admiral Seung-Hwan Park coordinated the defense with grim determination. Half his fleet was gone, but the Valdorians had lost over 60 ships to human desperation and ingenuity. "Sir, the civilian transport New Hope is requesting permission to ram the enemy flagship," Communications Officer Dan Bisong reported. "Denied," Seung-Hwan replied immediately. "Tell Captain He Jin-yu to maintain his position in the evacuation fleet." "Sir, Captain Yu says his ship is loaded with emergency supplies, not evacuees. He says if he can't save lives, at least he can avenge them." Seung-Hwan closed his eyes briefly. These people weren't soldiers, but they fought with the courage of legends. Tell him to make it count." The New Hope, a simple cargo vessel, accelerated toward Velthara's massive dreadnought. The Valdorian ship's weapons tore it apart before it could make contact. But the sacrifice inspired something even more powerful. Captain Min Ho-young, commanding the human assault ship Victory, saw the cargo ship's destruction and made a decision that would echo through history. "All ships, this is Captain Young. Follow my lead. We're going to board that dreadnought." "Sir, that's suicide," his first officer protested. "No," Young replied. "That's how we win." What followed shocked both fleets. Instead of trying to destroy the Valdorian flagship, 5 human ships locked onto it with magnetic grapples and began cutting through the hull. The Valdorians had never faced boarding actions in space combat before. "They're coming through the hull on decks 7, 12, and 15, Velthara's security chief reported. "These humans fight like warriors possessed." Captain Young led the assault on the bridge. His ship's crew, including civilian volunteers, fought through corridors designed for reptilian beings much larger than humans. They used their smaller size and desperate courage to overcome superior numbers. When Young reached the bridge, he found Supreme Arbiter Velthara wounded, but still commanding her fleet. She stared at him in amazement. "You board my flagship with civilian merchants and cargo handlers," she said. "Do you have no professional military?" "They volunteered," Young replied simply. "Every person here chose to fight for freedom." Velthara looked around her bridge at the humans who had somehow taken her most powerful ship. They were teachers, engineers, shopkeepers, and farmers. People who should have been cowering in shelters were instead holding weapons and demanding her surrender. "Why?" she asked. "Why do your civilians fight? Why do they sacrifice themselves for others?" "Because they're free," Young answered. "And free people protect what they love." The battle continued to rage around them, but something had changed. Reports came in of similar boarding actions throughout the Valdorian fleet. Human civilians were fighting aboard alien ships, turning the tide through sheer determination. "Supreme Arbiter," her communications officer called out, "Admiral Park is requesting to speak with you." Fleet Admiral Seung-Hwan Park's image appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Velthara could see the chaos of his ship's bridge as the battle continued. "Supreme Arbiter," he said formally, "I offer you terms of surrender." "Surrender?" Velthara laughed bitterly. "Your planet burns. Your fleets are broken. What terms could you possibly offer?" "Complete amnesty for all Valdorian military personnel," Seung-Hwan said calmly. "Equal representation in a new galactic council. No executions, no trials for war crimes, no punishment for your people." Velthara stared at the screen in shock. "You would spare those who conquered your allies? Who killed your people?" "Yes," Seung-Hwan replied. "Because this war was never about revenge. It was about freedom. Your people can be free too if they choose. And if I refuse your generous terms, then we continue fighting until one of us is completely destroyed," Seung-Hwan said. "But look around you, Supreme Arbiter. Your ship is captured. Half your fleet is gone. My people will never stop fighting, because they have something to fight for." Velthara looked at Captain Young and his crew of civilian volunteers. She had conquered 200 species through fear and overwhelming force. But these humans had something she had never encountered before. They genuinely believed in their cause. "You would make me an equal in your council?" she asked. "After all that has happened? The Valdorian people deserve representation," Seung Hwan confirmed. "You were warriors doing your duty as you understood it. We don't hate you for that." Around the bridge, Velthara's officers looked at her expectantly. They had fought bravely, but the battle was clearly lost. Their fleet was outnumbered now, as coalition reinforcements arrived from across the galaxy. "Why do you not simply destroy us and take the Empire for yourselves?" she asked. "Because we didn't fight for power," Captain Young answered from beside her command chair. "We fought for freedom. Everyone's freedom, including yours." Velthara made her decision. She had ruled through fear for 5,000 years, but these humans offered something different. Hope. "All Valdorian ships, this is Supreme Arbiter Velthara. Cease fire and stand down. I am accepting terms of surrender." The silence that followed was profound. Across the solar system, weapons fell silent. The war that had raged across a third of the galaxy was over. 5 years later, the Galactic Council met on New Geneva, a space station built jointly by all member species. Ambassador Sumin Lee represented humanity in the new democracy, but she was just one voice among hundreds. The former Valdorian Empire had become a loose confederation of free worlds, each governing itself according to its own customs. Some chose democracy, others preferred traditional monarchies, and a few tried completely new forms of government. Former General Korthak, now calling himself simply Korthak, worked with human peacekeeping forces to prevent conflicts between member species. The idea of Valdorians and humans working together had seemed impossible during the war, but peace had proven more powerful than old hatreds. The quarterly trade reports show continued growth in all sectors, Ambassador Lee announced to the Council. The Cathari shipyards are producing vessels for 12 different species. Zephyrian courier services now connect over 400 worlds. In the audience, Supreme Arbiter Velthara, now simply Counselor Velthara, listened with interest. Leading through cooperation instead of domination had proven far more effective than her old methods. After the session, she approached Ambassador Lee. "Your people continue to surprise me," Velthara said. 5 years ago, you could have conquered my empire. Instead, you helped us build something better." "Conquest would have made us just another empire," Lee replied. "Building together makes us all stronger." At the edge of known space, the exploration ship UES New Dawn prepared for humanity's next great adventure. Captain Eira Shin, daughter of the former president, stood on the bridge looking at star charts of unexplored regions. "Captain, we're ready to depart," her first officer reported. "Then let's see what's out there," Eira said with a smile. "The galaxy is a big place and we've barely started exploring it." Behind them, they left a civilization united not by conquest but by choice. Species that had once been enemies now worked together to build something unprecedented in galactic history. A true democracy among the stars. The humans had stumbled into a galactic empire and faced it without fear. In the end, they had won something far better than victory. They had won friends, allies, and a future where freedom belonged to everyone. As the New Dawn jumped into hyperspace, heading for the unknown regions beyond the galactic rim, Captain Shin carried with her the hopes of 200 species. The universe was vast and full of mysteries, but humanity would face whatever they found with the same courage that had freed a galaxy. The age of empire was over. The age of exploration had begun. Fleet Admiral Seung Hwan Park studied the holographic display showing the current state of the galaxy. 3 years had passed since his brother Hyunwoo had made first contact with the Valdorian Empire. Now nearly a third of the galaxy was in open revolt. "Status report," he requested from his intelligence officer. Commander Yuna Lim stepped forward with her datapad. 87 star systems are now part of the Free Worlds Coalition. The Cathari have provided us with 12 new ship designs. The Zephyrians are running supply lines through sectors the Valdorians can't patrol. The Thornax have formed 3 complete battle fleets. And the Valdorians? Growing desperate, Yuna replied. Supreme Arbiter Velthara has recalled ships from the outer territories. Intelligence suggests she's planning something big. Sung Hwan nodded. He had expected this. The Empire had tried to crush the rebellion through fear and force. But every brutal attack had only created more rebels. Now they would try a different approach. "Sir," Communications Officer Dan Bisong interrupted. We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Defense Command. The hologram that appeared showed President Yoon Ji-yang, who had replaced Mi Ren-shin after the previous president's death in a Valdorian assassin attack. Her face was grim. Admiral Park, our long-range sensors have detected a massive enemy fleet heading for Earth. Over 300 ships, including their entire remaining battle fleet. Velthara is leading them personally. Sung Hwan felt his stomach drop. 300 ships was more than the entire human fleet combined. Estimated time of arrival? 18 days, President Yang replied. We're beginning evacuation of non-essential personnel, but most civilians are refusing to leave. Madam President, with respect, you should evacuate as well. Earth's defenses won't hold against that kind of force. President Yang's expression hardened. Admiral, I was elected to lead this nation. I won't abandon my post when my people need me most. Besides, where would we run? If Earth falls, the rebellion dies with it. After the transmission ended, Seung-hwan called an emergency meeting of all coalition leaders. The conference room aboard his flagship filled with holograms of alien allies from across the galaxy. Morgoth of the Kethari spoke first. Admiral, our shipyards are working at maximum capacity, but we cannot build a fleet large enough to match the Valdorians in 18 days. The Zephyrian scout fleet is already moving toward Earth, reported Ilanth, who had become the leader of her people after the old council died in Valdorian reprisals. We may not have heavy ships, but we have speed and courage. Korthak, a reformed Valdorian general who had defected to the coalition, provided the most sobering assessment. Velthara is bringing everything she has. If she takes Earth, she will execute every human leader publicly. Then use your homeworld as an example to other rebellious species. Then we don't let her take Earth, Seung-hwan said simply. Admiral, Ilanth asked, how do we stop 300 ships with what we have? Seung-hwan looked around the room at his allies. 3 years ago, these species had been slaves. Now they were his friends and partners in freedom. We fight smart, he said. The Valdorians expect us to meet them in open battle. Instead, we make them come to us on our terms. The plan that emerged over the next 6 hours was unlike anything in military history. Instead of massing their fleets for one decisive battle, the coalition would spread their ships across dozens of star systems between the enemy fleet and Earth. Hit and run attacks, Seung-hwan explained. We slow them down, force them to split their forces to guard their supply lines. Make them fight 100 small battles instead of one big one. And if that doesn't stop them, Morgoth asked, then we make our final stand at Earth, with every ship and every person who believes in freedom. The running battle began in the Kepler system, 7 days out from Earth. Commander Jin-A Kwan led a mixed force of human destroyers and Cathari attack ships in a lightning strike against the Valdorian vanguard. The attack lasted only 20 minutes, but it destroyed 5 enemy ships and damaged 12 others. More importantly, it forced Velthara to slow her advance and send escorts to protect her supply ships. First blood to us, Jin-A reported as her ships jumped to hyperspace. Moving to next intercept point, the pattern repeated across 6 star systems. Coalition forces would appear without warning, strike hard and fast, then disappear before the main Valdorian fleet could respond. Each attack was small, but together they began to tell. By the time Velthara reached the outer edge of the Sol system, she had lost 40 ships and was running low on supplies. Her fleet was still larger than anything the coalition could field, but her crews were tired and demoralized. Supreme Arbiter, her intelligence officer reported, we're detecting massive energy signatures from Earth. They appear to be fortifying the entire planet. Velthara studied the sensor readings with growing unease. The human homeworld was surrounded by defensive platforms, minefields, and weapon satellites. More disturbing, every space station and orbital facility had been armed. They mean to make us fight for every meter, she realized. Ma'am, we're also detecting civilian ships throughout the system. Cargo vessels, passenger liners, even small personal craft. They're all moving to defensive positions. This was what Velthara had feared most. On every world the Valdorians had conquered, the civilians had surrendered when their military was defeated. Here the entire population seemed ready to fight. The battle for Earth began at the edge of the solar system, as Valdorian scouts met coalition picket ships near Pluto. The fighting was fierce but brief. The coalition ships fought until they were destroyed, buying time for the main defenses. As Velthara's fleet advanced toward Earth, they found that every asteroid had been turned into a fortress. Every moon held weapon emplacements. The humans had turned their entire star system into a battlefield. "This is madness," Velthara muttered, as another wave of human ships attacked her formations. "No species fights like this. They should surrender when faced with overwhelming odds." "Ma'am," her tactical officer said, "the Human Defense Coordinator is requesting to speak with you." The face that appeared on screen belonged to Fleet Admiral Sung Hwan Park. Velthara had studied his file and knew him to be a competent commander, but what she saw in his eyes was something she didn't recognize: complete determination without fear. "Supreme Arbiter," he said calmly, "I offer you one chance to withdraw. Leave the system now and we will allow your fleet to depart safely." Velthara's scales shifted color in anger. "You are surrounded and outnumbered. Surrender now and I will make your deaths quick." "We don't surrender," Sung Hwan replied. "We never have and we never will. This is our home, and you are not welcome here." The transmission ended, leaving Velthara staring at a blank screen. In 5,000 years of conquest, no species had ever spoken to her with such casual defiance. "Begin the final assault," she ordered. "I want this planet burning within the hour." But as her ships moved toward Earth, something unprecedented happened. Every human in the system, military and civilian alike, began broadcasting on the same frequency. "We are humanity," the voices said in unison. "We stand free. We will never kneel." The message was picked up by communication arrays and repeated across the galaxy. On every rebel world, every species in revolt heard the same words: "We stand free. We will never kneel." Supreme Arbiter Velthara realized that she wasn't just fighting for a planet. She was fighting for the future of her empire. If the humans could hold Earth, the rebellion would spread to every corner of the galaxy. The final battle for humanity's freedom was about to begin, and the entire galaxy was watching. The rebellion was spreading faster than Supreme Arbiter Velthara had thought possible. Across 17 star systems, subject species were rising up against their Valdorian masters. Each uprising was supported by human advisors and weapons, but more importantly, by the idea that freedom was worth fighting for. Colonel Jaewon Seo crouched behind the ruins of a Zephyrian temple, his rifle ready as Valdorian troops advanced through the city streets. Beside him, Ilanth, the leader of the local Zephyrian resistance, checked her weapon. "How many more waves?" she asked in broken English. "As many as it takes," Jaewon replied. "But we hold this position. The civilians behind us need time to evacuate." Ilanth nodded. 3 days ago, she had been a simple merchant in this city. Now she was leading a fight for her people's freedom. The change had happened when she saw something she never expected. The Valdorian reprisal attack had come without warning. Orbital bombardment had destroyed the power station and the communication center. Then the troops had landed, herding Zephyrian civilians toward transport ships. Those who resisted were shot. That's when the humans had arrived. Colonel Seo and his small unit could have evacuated to safety. Their ship was fast enough to outrun the Valdorian patrols. Instead, they had landed in the middle of the city and started helping wounded civilians. "Why?" Ilanth had asked when she found the human medic treating her injured daughter. "Because it's the right thing to do," Dr. Minji Yang had answered simply. Now, 2 days later, Dr. Yang was still here, still treating wounded in a makeshift hospital while the battle raged outside. She had refused every offer to evacuate to safety. "Colonel," one of Seo's sergeants reported, "enemy armor approaching from the north. 3 heavy tanks," Seo grimaced. His unit had anti-tank weapons, but not enough to stop 3 tanks. The evacuation was only half complete. They needed more time. "Sir," Ilanth said, "my people can fly. We can attack the tanks from above while you hit them from ground level." "Those tanks have anti-aircraft weapons," Seo warned. "Your people don't have armor." "No," Ilanth agreed, "but we have courage. You taught us that freedom is worth dying for." The battle that followed became legendary among both humans and Zephyrians. The winged aliens dove from the sky and coordinated attacks, drawing the tanks' fire while Seo's troops hit them with rockets. 2 tanks were destroyed, but the cost was heavy. 7 Zephyrians died in the attack, including Alanth's own brother. When the dust settled, Alanth knelt beside her brother's body. Colonel Seo approached carefully. "I'm sorry," he said. "He died a hero." "He died free," Alanth replied, tears in her eyes. "For 50 years my people have lived as servants. Today they died as warriors. The last transport ship lifted off just as Valdorian reinforcements arrived. 3,000 Zephyrian civilians had escaped, along with the human medical team, but the city was lost. As they retreated to their ship, Colonel Seo received a message that would change everything. Admiral He Young Na's voice came through his communicator, tense with urgency. All units, emergency withdrawal to Wolf 359, major enemy fleet approaching. We're about to face their best. The journey to Wolf 359 took 2 days. When they arrived, Seo saw the largest human fleet ever assembled. Over 60 ships, from massive battleships to small patrol craft. But he also saw their enemy. The Valdorian Praetorian Guard had come to end the rebellion once and for all. General Valdrak commanded 200 of the Empire's finest ships, crewed by their most experienced warriors. This was the elite force that had conquered star systems. All ships, this is Admiral Na. The announcement came across all human frequencies. Today we face the best the Empire has to offer. They think their reputation will make us run. Let's show them what humans do when faced with impossible odds. The battle began at maximum range, with both fleets firing everything they had. The space between the two forces lit up with energy beams and missile explosions, but it quickly became clear that the humans were outmatched. The Praetorian Guard ships were faster, better armed, and more heavily protected than anything the humans had faced before. Within an hour, 12 human ships had been destroyed with only 3 enemy vessels lost. "Admiral, we should retreat," suggested Captain Namsu Cho from the destroyer Guardian. "We can regroup and try again later." "No," Admiral Na replied firmly. "If we run now, every species watching will think the rebellion is over. Sometimes you have to make a stand even when you know you'll lose." Colonel Seo, now aboard the battleship Defiant, watched as Admiral Na's flagship moved to the front of the formation. The Liberator was the newest and most powerful ship in the human fleet, but it was still no match for General Valdrak's dreadnought. The two flagships exchanged fire at close range. The Liberator's shields failed after 10 minutes, and hull breaches appeared along its sides. But Admiral Na kept fighting, even as her ship began to break apart. "All ships, this is Admiral Na." Her final transmission came through static and flame. "Never surrender. Never kneel. Humanity stands free." The Liberator rammed into Valdrak's dreadnought at full speed. Both ships disappeared in a massive explosion that lit up the entire battle area. General Valdrak, the conqueror of 12 star systems, died alongside Admiral He Young Na, who had been a teacher before the war began. The explosion marked the turning point of the battle. The human fleet, inspired by their admiral's sacrifice, fought with desperate fury. They had lost their leader, but they would not lose their cause. Commander Wu Jinbei, the senior surviving officer, took command of the human fleet. His own ship was badly damaged, his crew reduced to half strength, but he had an idea. "All civilian ships, emergency broadcast on all frequencies," he ordered. "Maximum power, sir. That will reveal our position to every enemy ship," his communications officer warned. "That's the point," Bei replied. The message went out on every communication channel the humans could access, reaching not just the immediate battle area but star systems across the galaxy. "This is Commander Wu Jinbei of the Human Defense Fleet," his voice carried to 1,000 worlds. "We are not your subjects. We are not your inferiors. We are humans, and we will never kneel. Today, Admiral He Young Na gave her life to prove that freedom is worth any sacrifice. Her death will not be forgotten. Our cause will not die. To every species listening, remember this day. Remember that someone stood up to the Empire and fought back. We are humans and we are not afraid." On the Cathari homeworld, Morgoth heard the broadcast and smiled grimly. Within an hour, every power station on the planet had suffered mysterious failures. The Valdorian garrison found themselves without lights, communication, or environmental controls. On the Zephyrian colony worlds, Ilanth's message to her people was simple: "The humans have shown us how to die free. Now let us live free." Throughout the Thornark mining worlds, warrior slaves heard the human commander's words and remembered what their people had been before conquest. Work slowdowns became sabotage. Sabotage became armed uprising. The Battle of Wolf 359 was a tactical defeat for humanity. They lost 30 ships and their best admiral, but it was a strategic victory for the rebellion. Commander Bei's broadcast had been heard across the galaxy, and the message was clear. Resistance was possible. Supreme Arbiter. Velthara read the reports of uprisings on 47 worlds and felt something she had never experienced before. Fear. Not fear of losing battles, but fear of losing control. The humans are like a virus, she told her council. They spread ideas of rebellion wherever they go. We must destroy their homeworld before this disease spreads further. But it was already too late. The idea of freedom once planted grew in the minds of every oppressed species. The Valdorian Empire was discovering that ruling through fear only worked until someone offered hope. Commander Bay, now promoted to admiral after the battle, received reports of uprising after uprising. Each message ended the same way. We stand with the humans. We will not kneel. The rebellion had become a revolution, and it was spreading across the stars faster than any fleet could travel. The galaxy would never be the same. Chief Engineer Byung-ho Kang crawled through the wreckage of the Valdorian cruiser, his scanner beeping as it analyzed alien technology. 3 weeks after the Battle of Titan, human salvage crews were still pulling useful equipment from the destroyed ships. "This is incredible," he muttered into his communicator. "Their power systems are centuries ahead of ours, but the design is so wasteful. They built these things to show off, not to fight efficiently. What does that mean for us?" Admiral Dong-Hyun Yoon asked from orbit. "It means we can build better ships with their technology. They're so used to winning through intimidation that they forgot how to build practical weapons." Byung-ho's team had been working around the clock since the battle. Human factories were already producing improved engines based on Valdorian designs. But more importantly, they had learned something else from the wreckage. The aliens weren't just one species. They were many different races, all serving the same masters. "Admiral, we need to talk to the other species in this empire," Byung-ho said. "Some of these ships had crew members who weren't Valdorian. If this empire has conquered so many races, maybe some of them would like to be free." Meanwhile, intelligence officer Ye-jin Ryu was thinking the same thing. She had spent weeks analyzing communications intercepts from alien ships. The Valdorians gave orders, but other species carried them out. More interesting, some of those other species didn't sound happy about it. "We need a diplomatic mission," she told Admiral Yoon. "But not to the Valdorians, to their slaves." The first mission went to Captain Jin-Soo Oh, humanity's most experienced diplomat. His ship, the UES Harmony, was built for exploration and contact, not war. Its weapons were minimal, but its laboratories and medical facilities were the best humanity could build. "Remember," Admiral Yoon told him before departure, "we're not looking for allies in a war. We're looking for friends who want to be free." Jin-Soo's target was a species called the Kethari, aquatic beings who served as engineers and technicians in the Valdorian fleet. Intelligence suggested they had been conquered only 50 years ago and might still remember freedom. The Kethari homeworld was a water planet with floating cities connected by underwater tubes. When the Harmony arrived, Jin-Soo was met by a Valdorian patrol fleet. But instead of fighting, he did something unexpected. He surrendered. "This is Captain Jin-Soo Oh of the United Earthship Harmony. We request permission to land and offer medical assistance to any who need it." The Valdorian commander was confused. Humans were supposed to be aggressive and unpredictable. This one was offering help. "You will be escorted to a landing platform. Any hostile action will result in your destruction." "Understood," Jin-Soo replied calmly. The landing platform was surrounded by Valdorian guards, but Jin-Soo noticed something important. The Kethari workers kept glancing at the human ship with curiosity, not fear. They had heard about the species that fought the Empire and won. "I am Sub-Commander Veltar," the Valdorian officer announced. "State your business here." "We're doctors and engineers," Jin-Soo said simply. "We heard your people might need medical assistance. We're offering our services freely." Veltar's scales shifted color, a sign of confusion among his species. "You seek nothing in return?" "The satisfaction of helping those in need." This was completely outside Valdorian understanding. In their culture, everything was about dominance and submission. No species gave help without expecting something back. "You may provide assistance, but only under guard," Veltar decided. What happened next surprised everyone, especially the Kethari. The human medical team set up their equipment and began treating anyone who needed help. They repaired old injuries that Valdorian doctors had deemed untreatable. They shared advanced medicines freely. Most importantly, they treated Kethari patients with the same care they would give to humans. Dr. Yoon Seo Park worked 18 hours straight helping. Cathari children with a genetic condition that had been ignored by their Valdorian masters. When the local Cathari leader Morgoth asked why she cared about alien children, her answer was simple. Because they're children, she said. All children deserve to be healthy and happy. Morgoth had lived under Valdorian rule for 30 years. In all that time, no one had ever shown kindness to his people without expecting something in return. He began to see that maybe these humans were different. On the third day, Jinsu was approached by a group of Cathari engineers who worked on the floating city's power systems. "Captain," one of them said quietly, "may we see your ship's engines? We have heard they are based on Valdorian technology but improved." Jinsu smiled. "Of course. We'd be happy to share our improvements." The Cathari engineers couldn't believe what they saw. The humans had taken Valdorian power systems and made them 30% more efficient. But more than that, the human crew explained how the improvements worked. They were teaching, not just showing off. "Why do you share this knowledge?" Morgoth asked. "The Valdorians would never teach us how to improve their technology." "Because knowledge belongs to everyone," Jinsu replied. "The more we all know, the better we all become." That night, Morgoth called a secret meeting of Cathari leaders. What the humans were offering was more than medical help or technical knowledge. They were offering respect. "The humans treat us as equals," he told the gathering. "They share their knowledge freely. They heal our children. They ask for nothing but friendship. But they are at war with the Empire," another leader pointed out. "If we help them, the Valdorians will destroy us." "The Valdorians destroy us slowly every day," Morgoth replied. "They work us until we die, take our children for their factories, and give us nothing in return. At least with the humans, we might have hope for something better." The meeting lasted all night. By morning, the Cathari had made their decision. Morgoth approached Captain Jinsu as the humans were preparing to leave. "Captain, we have something for you," he said, handing over a data crystal. "Complete schematics of Valdorian ship designs, including weaknesses that only engineers would know. There are also communication codes and patrol schedules." Jinsu stared at the crystal. The information on it was worth more than a fleet of battleships. "Why?" he asked. "Because for the first time in 50 years someone has shown us kindness without expecting us to kneel for it," Morgoth replied. "If there is to be war, we choose to stand with those who see us as people, not tools." As the Harmony left the Cathari system, Jinsu sent a message back to Earth. "Mission successful. We have made friends and they have made a choice." The information from the Cathari proved invaluable. Human engineers learned about critical weaknesses in Valdorian ships. Intelligence officers gained access to enemy communication networks. Most importantly, humanity learned that the Empire was not as strong as it appeared. "There are cracks in their foundation," Yejin reported to Admiral Yoon. "Species that remember freedom. Races that are tired of serving masters. If we can show them that resistance is possible, the whole Empire might crumble." Admiral Yoon nodded. "Then we don't just fight a war. We start a revolution." Across the galaxy, other human diplomatic missions were having similar success. The Zephyrians, winged beings who served as scouts and messengers, were impressed by human pilots who treated them as equals in the sky. The Thornax, a warrior race forced to serve as shock troops, respected human soldiers who fought alongside them instead of commanding from behind. Each new alliance brought more intelligence, more resources, and more hope. The Valdorian Empire was discovering that ruling through fear only worked until someone offered a better alternative. But Supreme Arbiter Velthara was also learning. Her spies reported that human ships were appearing in systems across the Empire, offering medical aid and technical assistance. Worse, some of her subject species were beginning to rebel. "Increase patrols in all systems," she ordered. "Any species found cooperating with humans will face severe punishment." But it was too late. The revolution had already begun, and it was spreading faster than her ships could travel. For the first time in 5,000 years, the Valdorian Empire was afraid. Admiral Donghyun Yoon read the report for the third time. Each word made his stomach sink deeper. An alien empire with 200 conquered species, ships that could appear and disappear at will, and they were coming for Earth. "How long do we have?" asked President Mi Ran Shin over the video call. Her face looked tired. The emergency session had been going on for 6 hours. "Captain Park estimates they'll need time to gather intelligence on our location and strength," Donghyun replied. "Maybe 6 months." Maybe less. We need to negotiate, said Defense Minister Han Gil-soo. 200 species, Admiral. If they conquered all of them, what chance do we have? The same chance every free people have had throughout history, Dong-hyun answered. We fight for our homes. President Shin rubbed her temples. Admiral, I respect your courage, but we must be realistic. Perhaps we can find a peaceful solution. Offer them something they want in exchange for our freedom. Dong-hyun wanted to argue, but he understood her position. She was responsible for 8 billion lives. Madam President, I'll prepare our defenses while you explore diplomatic options. But I need resources. Ships, weapons, personnel. You'll have whatever you need, she promised. 3 months later, those resources were put to the test. Commander Soo-jin Han was reviewing patrol schedules at Titan Station when her communications officer spoke up. Commander, we've got multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace. Big ones. Soo-jin moved to the main display. 12 massive ships appeared on the screen, each one dwarfing anything in the human fleet. They arranged themselves in a perfect formation, clearly experienced in intimidation tactics. Open a channel, Soo-jin ordered. The face that appeared on screen was reptilian, with golden eyes and sharp teeth. When it spoke, the translator gave it a deep, commanding voice. I am War Admiral Korath of the Valdorian hegemony. This system now belongs to the Empire. You will surrender immediately and prepare to be processed. Processed? Soo-jin asked. Your species will be evaluated for usefulness. Those deemed worthy will serve the Empire in appropriate roles. The rest will be relocated to designated worlds. Soo-jin felt anger building in her chest. And if we refuse? Korath's teeth showed in what might have been a smile. The choice is simple, human. Surrender and live as subjects or resist and die as fools. We have crushed 200 species. What makes you think you are different? Maybe you should find out, Soo-jin replied, then cut the transmission. Her bridge crew stared at her. Lieutenant Jamin Ko was the first to speak. Commander, they have 12 capital ships. We have 6 destroyers, 4 frigates, and a bunch of civilian vessels. Then we better make each ship count, Soo-jin said. Send the civilians away. Military vessels only for this fight. Ma'am, with respect, the civilians are refusing to leave. They say this is their home too. Soo-jin looked at the tactical display. Mining ships, cargo haulers, even passenger liners were forming up alongside her military vessels. Captains who had never fired a shot in anger were volunteering to fight an alien empire. Captain Myung-jun, Lee of the cargo hauler Iron Mountain requests permission to join the battle line, her communications officer reported. Tell him his ship isn't armed, Soo-jin said. He says he doesn't need weapons. Just point him at the enemy, Soo-jin understood. These people weren't soldiers, but they were humans. They wouldn't run from a fight for their home. All ships, this is Commander Han. Form up on my position. We're going to show these aliens what humans do when cornered. The battle began badly for the humans. The Valdorian ships were heavily armed and well shielded. Their first volley destroyed 1 human destroyer and damaged 2 others. But the human response surprised them. Instead of falling back, the civilian ships charged forward. The Iron Mountain, loaded with construction explosives, rammed straight into a Valdorian cruiser. The explosion tore both ships apart, but it also proved something important. The aliens could be hurt. All ships ramming speed, Soo-jin ordered. Take them with you! What followed was unlike any battle in galactic history. Human ships, outgunned and outmatched, threw themselves at the enemy without fear. The passenger liner New Seoul, carrying evacuation pods instead of passengers, crashed into a Valdorian battleship's bridge. The mining vessel Deep Digger used its industrial lasers to slice through enemy armor before being destroyed. War Admiral Korath watched in growing confusion as his fleet was torn apart by inferior ships piloted by what appeared to be madmen. These humans fought like cornered animals, but with the intelligence to coordinate their attacks. Sir, the humans are using their civilian ships as weapons, his tactical officer reported. I can see that, Korath snarled. Why aren't they retreating? They must know they cannot win. Perhaps they don't understand the concept of surrender. Commander Soo-jin's destroyer, the Defiance, was badly damaged but still fighting. Half her crew was dead and her weapons were failing, but she kept attacking. When a Valdorian ship moved to finish her off, the cargo ship Bright Star positioned itself in the way. Taking the killing blow meant for her. This is insane, Korath muttered. No species fights like this. No species sacrifices civilian ships to save military ones. His fleet was down to 7 ships and the humans still had 5 vessels capable of fighting. More importantly, human reinforcements were arriving. Admiral Dong Hyun Yoon's main fleet had heard the battle and was jumping in system. "War Admiral, we should withdraw," his second-in-command suggested. "We can return with a larger force." Korath stared at the tactical display. In 3 hours, these primitive humans had destroyed 5 ships from his punishment fleet. 5 ships that had conquered star systems. "Retreat," he ordered, the word bitter in his mouth. As the Valdorian ships fled, Sujin surveyed the battlefield. 17 human ships destroyed, including 12 civilian vessels crewed by volunteers. But they had won. "Commander, we're receiving transmissions from Earth. Every news network wants to interview you," her communications officer reported. "Tell them later," Sujin replied. "First, we honor our dead." Across human space, the news spread quickly. A small fleet at Titan Station had faced the alien empire and won. The enemy could be beaten. More importantly, they could be scared. In his retreat, War Admiral Korath sent his report to the Hegemony Command. His message was simple. "The humans are unlike any species we have encountered. They do not fear death. Recommend immediate full-scale invasion before they grow stronger." Supreme Arbiter Velthara read the report with growing concern. In 5,000 years of conquest, no species had ever destroyed 5 Valdorian ships in a single battle. "These humans were dangerous. Double the invasion fleet," she ordered. "If they want to die as heroes, we will accommodate them." But in the depths of space, human engineers were already studying the wreckage of Valdorian ships. Within weeks, they would understand alien technology. Within months, they would improve it. The real war was just beginning, and humanity was learning fast. Captain Hyunwoo Park stared at the endless black of space through the bridge windows of the UES horizon. 3 months into their mission, his crew had mapped 12 new star systems. Today felt different, though. Something was wrong. "Captain, I'm getting strange readings," said Navigator So Young Kim from her station. Her fingers danced across the control panel, bringing up a holographic display. "There's something out there, but the sensors can't lock onto it." Hyunwoo walked over to her station. The display showed empty space, but the energy readings told a different story. Something big was hiding just beyond their sensor range. "Could be a natural phenomenon," said Engineer Tae-Jin Lee, looking up from his maintenance reports. "Maybe a gas cloud or asteroid field." "No," So Young shook her head. "This is too organized. Too perfect. It's like something is blocking our scans on purpose." Communications Officer Ji-Hai Choi suddenly straightened in her chair. "Captain, I'm picking up artificial signals. Very faint, but definitely not natural." Hyunwoo felt his heart rate increase. After decades of searching, had humanity finally found proof they were not alone? "Can you translate the signals?" "Working on it," Ji-Hai replied, her fingers flying over her keyboard. "The pattern is complex, but there's definitely intelligence behind it." The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Everyone held their breath as Ji-Hai worked. After 10 minutes, she looked up with wide eyes. "Captain, I think these are position reports. Ships talking to each other about patrol routes and defensive positions." "Defensive positions?" Tae-Jin asked. "Defending against what?" Before anyone could answer, the space in front of them shimmered like heat waves. Suddenly, a massive structure appeared where there had been nothing before. It was clearly artificial, with sharp angles and glowing lights. The thing was easily 10 times larger than their ship. "Holy," So Young whispered. "All stop," Hyunwoo ordered. "Ji-Hai, are they trying to communicate with us?" "Yes, sir. Multiple signals coming in. They're demanding we identify ourselves and state our business in their territory." Hyunwoo took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had dreamed of for centuries. First contact with an alien species. He had to get this right. "Open a channel," he said. "Channel open, Captain." "This is Captain Hyunwoo Park of the United Earthship Horizon. We are explorers from the planet Earth. We did not know this area was claimed territory. We mean no harm." The response came quickly. Ji-Hee's translation program worked frantically to convert the alien words into English. When the voice came through the speakers, it was cold and harsh. "Earth vessel, you have violated the borders of the Valdorian hegemony. Such violation is an act of war. You will surrender your ship immediately and submit to interrogation." Hyunwoo blinked. "War?" They had just introduced themselves. "Please, there must be some misunderstanding. We're peaceful explorers. We didn't even know you existed." "Ignorance is not an excuse. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in your destruction." "Sir," Tae-Jin said quietly, Our mining lasers and construction tools could be seen as weapons by their sensors. Hyunwoo nodded. That might explain their hostile reaction. We have no weapons, only tools for our exploration mission. We're willing to talk and clear up this misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding, the alien voice replied. Your species will be classified as hostile until proven otherwise. You will surrender or be destroyed. You have 60 of your Earth seconds to comply. The crew looked at their captain. Hyunwoo's mind raced. These aliens weren't interested in talking. They were used to others simply giving up when threatened. Captain? So Young asked. Hyunwoo straightened his shoulders. His grandfather had fought in wars to keep Earth free. His father had helped build the first space colonies so humans could spread among the stars. He would not be the first human to kneel before aliens. Ji-Hai, open the channel again. Channel open. This is Captain Park. We came in peace, but we will not surrender our ship to threats. We've done nothing wrong except cross an imaginary line we didn't know existed. If you want to fight, we'll fight. But we won't just give up. Silence filled the bridge. Then the alien voice returned, and for the first time it sounded surprised. You refuse to surrender? Do you not understand the consequences? We are the Veldorian hegemony. We rule over 200 species across this sector of the galaxy. No species has ever refused our demands. Well, now you've met one that does, Hyunwoo replied. We are humans and we don't surrender to bullies. The alien station suddenly came alive with activity. Dozens of smaller ships appeared around it, their weapons powering up. The humans were badly outnumbered. Tae-jin, give me everything the engines have got, Hyunwoo ordered. So Young, plot a course out of here. Ji, send everything we've recorded back to Earth, emergency transmission. Sir, they're targeting us, So Young reported. All hands, brace for combat, Hyunwoo announced over the ship's communication system. This might get rough. The first alien ship fired. Blue energy beams shot past the horizon, missing by meters. Hyunwoo's ship was faster, but not by much. Tae-jin, can we use the mining charges as weapons? They're not designed for combat, but if we detonate them at the right distance, the explosion might damage their ships. Do it. Tae-jin launched 3 mining charges toward the pursuing alien ships. The explosions lit up space like tiny suns. 2 alien ships were caught in the blast and went spinning away, damaged but not destroyed. It worked, So Young shouted. We're pulling away! But more alien ships were joining the chase. The horizon shook as enemy fire hit their rear shields. Hull damage on Deck 7, Tae-jin reported. Shields at 60%. How long until we reach the edge of their territory? Hyunwoo asked. At current speed, 18 minutes, So Young replied. It was going to be close. The human ship raced through space with a dozen alien vessels in pursuit. More energy beams flashed past them. The horizon shields flickered with each hit. Transmission sent, Ji-Hai announced. Earth will know what happened here. Hyunwoo nodded. Whatever happened next, humanity would be warned. They would know that somewhere in the galaxy, there was an empire that demanded surrender from anyone they met. The border was approaching. Just a few more minutes and they would be free. Behind them, the alien ships were falling back, apparently unwilling to leave their territory. We made it, So Young said as they crossed the invisible line. The alien ships stopped their pursuit, but their radio transmissions continued. Ji-Hai translated the final message. This is not over, humans. The hegemony will find your Earth. You will learn to kneel like all the others. Hyunwoo looked at his crew. They had survived first contact, but they had also started something much bigger. Earth would never be the same. Set course for home, he ordered. We have a lot to report.